Inspiring connection. Restore. Renew. Reconnect. Live. Laugh. In love. Connections. Dream. Getaway experiences. Brave Heart Workshops. Unique Getaways live with Jill Reynolds.
The Connection Show. Restore, renew, and reconnect in community, sponsored by Brave Heart Workshops live with Jill Reynolds. And joining me today is my friend from Texas, Charla Anderson. Welcome, Charla.
I'm so excited to be here, Jill. It's like we just met and connected. Very, very excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, I feel like the way we met and how we've connected, I feel like I've known you for a long time. I feel like you're a new great friend that I cherish already. And I'd love to share with the audience, Charla, a little bit about who you are so they know who Charla is. So Charla is a published author, speaker, and a coach, a Zig Ziglar Legacy Certified trainer, and a serial entrepreneur. Charla Anderson has made it her life's passion to help others live a satisfied life of complete peace and joy. She's a former award-winning 34-year flight attendant, a mother, a grandmother, and a world traveler, an Olympic torchbearer, collector, and connector of fascinating people. Her life experiences, training, and wisdoms are catalysts for your desired growth. She's with us today to share about being outrageously courageous with bold faith. She's made it her life mission to help others live a satisfied life of intentional significance. She's also written and authored a book, Bold Faith of Courage, to stand in your authority in order to live a life of prosperity, peace, and joy. So thanks so much. If I said all that right, if I made a mistake, you can correct me, but what an amazing life you've lived, and I'd love for you to share it with the audience, Charla.
Well, thank you again. When I start, everybody has a story, right? And you start listening to stories and you start hearing your own story a little bit. It's like, I just did what I did, yes, I had a 34-year career as a flight attendant, an international flight attendant, a coordinator. I did carry the Olympic torch for the Delta Airlines Salt Lake City Olympics. It was a peer nominated. I was the top chairman's club in the Delta Airlines. Beautiful company, a great job for perfect job for me. And I was raising 3 kids and 3 stepkids and commuting and working max hours and being the neighborhood pool every weekend party mom and the mission trip mom. And I look back and go, who did that? How do you do that? But everybody goes, we just wake up every day doing what we just do, and it never seems extraordinary to us at the time. Right? It just is doing our life. Life keeps lifing. And so I did a lot of that. And I came out of this is a piece that is a tricky one for me, because I came out of who I am as a flight attendant and who I am as a mom. And both of those things kind of, not that mom ended, but, they were transitioning out of school in 2008. And I'm like, well, now who am I? And I think a lot of people that have been in careers, or that, your identity is a lot of times wrapped up in what you do. And especially something that I loved so much as the flight attendant. That was my mission field, those people towards the end. I really loved those people. And on my passengers, I say. So then I really had no clue who I am. I was doing some network marketing, and I didn't even know the networking world existed. Who knew chambers had leads groups and stuff like that? I had no idea. And so I started into that whole mode of, I don't even know who I am. And a lot of networking groups aren't really thrilled for network marketing people to come along. So just trying to figure that out. And I did. And all of a sudden, somebody said, hey, you should have your own radio show. So I did. And I have a saying that when intriguing opportunities present themselves and you say yes, things show up. And so you say yes, and you continue to attract things that are special to you, and you speak something. And I do believe in it's a version of the law of attraction. You speak what you want. And so you mentioned that I wrote a book, and I am a published author, and I'll just hold it up if that's all right. It's a tiny book called Candy Bar Hugs. It doesn't take much to make a difference. It's a small book, Amazon for $5.55, but it's a pay it forward type of a book. And I would just go in and I started buying a candy bar for the checkout person. What's your favorite candy bar? And then, do you mind if I give you a hug? Of course, we're doing elbow bumps now. But, stories came out from that. And this one story in the book that probably made me consider writing this book is I offered a candy bar, and she said, that's the nicest thing anybody's ever done for me. And then I said, do you mind if I give you a hug? And she started crying. She said, you have no idea. I just found out my mom is terminal today. And so people are needing connection right now more than ever, maybe, but we're connected with our devices, but we're not really connecting. I had a gentleman that is also listed in the book that it was the first hug he had had in over 5 years. Whoa. And, because I had spoken into his life, and, he said, I will never forget you. So that's that little book. My second book that I'm working on is called Split Second Transformation. Change your words, change your life, 31 daily practices. Your words matter. And that's probably the biggest message that I'm physically out here trying to say. Your words matter. Speak what you want, not what you don't want. And who I say I am, whatever you say after that, is who you are in that moment, and who you are becoming, and who you become. So when I have said for years, I am bold faith, no fear. Who I am is bold faith, no fear. And I'm just speaking as in my own affirmation. And
where did that statement come from?
I can't even remember now, but I want to, who I am is bold faith, no fear. I don't remember why or where I even started saying that, but it's been several years.
Well, I wanted to lead into the incident that happened to you that was fear-based.
That's what I was just going to say. So here I am saying that, and in October of 2017, I'm just having fun walking up the driveway of an Airbnb at night after a convention, and I got robbed at gunpoint. And they took everything out of my right hand. I had give me your purse, give me your keys, with a gun right here at my head. I said, when I retell the story, I always go like this. I stepped towards the gun and I said, you need love. And they ran. I was shaken. I had zero fear. I'm like, I went either way, but I feel like I was in my shield of protection. Psalms 91, God's umbrella of protection. I prayed over my car and my house and everything all the time, and my kids and family. But I believe I have angels protecting me. But because of who I am is bold faith, no fear, I stepped towards that gun and said, you need love. They did shoot the gun. I don't know if I told that to you, but they shot the gun as they were leaving, and the police found a shell. And so I have to add, no offense to anybody, but I said, was it a 9mm? I'm from Texas, So, and anyway, so that's kind of my joke about it. But my friend thought I was going to be a chalk mark, right? She's already handed over everything, and they're thinking, here we are. I'm a silver-haired little old lady laughing and not paying attention. I'm assuming they thought I would be an easy target. We would be easy targets. but don't mess with Texas.
Or
So,
the Holy Spirit.
or the Holy Spirit, or the shield of protection, or
Yeah.
the knowing that you are okay, and if you can take a breath, you are okay in that moment. And so my third book is going to be called Outrageously Courageous, Bold Faith, No Fear, Step Towards the Gun. So I've already got those ISBN numbers for those 2 books. So hopefully that they'll be manifesting this year. Then, well, did you have a question you were?
No, I love everything that you say, and it was amazing as you were speaking truth to the audience. What resonated with me, Charla, is I personally have now, oh gosh, in 1992, I went to treatment for codependency. And, I've written, back in those days, they had treatment centers for codependency. Unfortunately, they don't anymore. I wish they did, but insurance used to cover it. And Melody Beatty's written her book, Codependent No More, which is an amazing book, top seller. And I've done a lot of recovery. I used to lead Codependence Anonymous meetings in Chicago and sponsored over 50 women in recovery from codependency. And as you were speaking, my definition today of codependency is when we allow people, places, or things to become more important than ourselves, and we lose our identity, we are in the midst of codependency. So it's very easy to hear that definition and think of people in our lives that have become more important than ourselves. But when I say places to me would be our jobs become more important. Sometimes churches become more important, that we lose our identity even in a building of a church or whatever. And then things. For me, things are drugs, alcohol, food, shopping, sex, gambling, anything that becomes more important than yourself, and that comes into play, you lose your identity. And I am a recovered now person with an eating disorder. I had eating disorders from the time I was 5 years old. And I used to be anorexic, and then, fast forward it, years later, switched into the eating disorder called restrictive avoidance disorder, where I would restrict food all day long and forget to eat. And then I would be famished and come home and binge eat at night. I didn't purge, but I restricted meals, and then I binged. And today in the United States, many people are in restrictive avoidance disorder mode. They don't realize it. They get up in the morning, they say they're not hungry, they get dressed, they go to work and run all day long, and they forget to eat, and they don't understand that that's considered disordered eating. And so I have recovered in that arena. But going back for just a step, and why I brought this up, when you were sharing about all the hats you used to wear, of the flight attendant, the mother, the grandmother, the running children to sports, all the hats we put on as moms, many of us, just like the flight attendant who gets on the plane that announces, put your oxygen mask on first so that you can survive before you put it on your children. Same philosophy when it comes to parenting today with our children. And it's so imperative. Many of us as women especially, and men too, live this life that is focused around our careers, where we're running to support our family. And then we're having to change those hats and be a mother, a grandmother, a wife, a husband, and we don't have the oxygen mask on. We're dying. And, I heard you, and I empathize with how hard that had to be, and yet fulfilling. It was fulfilling because, we're fulfilled, especially when we're in a passionate career. But who's the one that loses generally is ourselves, that when it comes to a crashing halt, we go into retirement or disability, the children get older and leave home, and we're now empty nesters, and we sit back and we go, wow, who am I? Like, who am I now without all this?
I have another analogy that about the oxygen mask, and I really have a vision of writing a book with a cover that everyone has their oxygen mask on, but me, you know. And that'll be a hard book to write, so I don't know if it'll come. But my analogy is, you know, many people these days may not know what a saucer is, but if you have a cup and a saucer, you know, and I should have one here because I've got plenty of them. If we will keep our cup full until it runs over and just serve out of the saucer, then we have our cup full. And yes, and I'll, if I may explain a little bit, I was a flight attendant with this beautiful happy face, and I was super mom, super woman, all these things. And when I was a single mom for a while, I remember specifically choosing to do one thing that I made it my thing, and I would drink out on the airplane. I would drink out of the first class glass coffee cup for my own service instead of all the little plastic things we had in coach. And it was an intentional, I'm taking care of me. It's a very small thing, but it was an intentional, this matters to me. And
I have to get you laughing for a minute, because you've gotten to know I have a sense of humor. When you had a drink, was it a vodka tonic or coffee?
Flight attendant.
I'm teasing you because you said I had to have my drink before we.
Well, I was flying. I was flying all night a lot of times. And I was going to Hawaii. One of my trips that I did a lot was Hawaii, and I would be up 36 hours at a time, and I would come home and take my kids to church on Sunday morning after in my uniform, after just landing, after flying, and then commuting back home. And it was a crazy time, but I
know it was coffee. I just had to say that because it was funny when you said I took a drink. And you know, and it's great that I could have a sense of humor because I'm 38 years clean and sober from drugs and alcohol. So for me, I can make my own alcohol joke.
And guess what? I'm going to just throw this in there because I have heard in this last week how to make your own quinine tonic. And tonic is one of those things that is extraordinarily healthy and helpful for what's going on out in our world right now for disease and stuff. And I was like, well, for medicinal purposes, I guess I'll go back to the old vodka tonic. It's funny you mentioned that because I literally said that to my kids yesterday. I was like, quinine, you need a tonic water is quinine. It makes great repeal. So anyway,
yeah. So that I just had to lighten the load a bit, you know, after talking about codependency and stuff. And I was like, okay, let's lighten the load because you said you had to have that drink with the saucer. So I thought, okay, what kind of drink was it? What kind of beverage? So
yeah. So I'm going to just acknowledge you and just stop a second and acknowledge that that's a huge feat that you have come through. And you know, I want to say thank you for sharing that.
The hardest one of everything, believe it or not, and I kind of come to realize why, is, you know, I'm recovered, like I said, 38 years from drugs and alcohol, about 37 years from smoking 2 to 4 packs of cigarettes a day. I'm 28 years from codependency and 5 years from eating disorders. And along in between all that, I'd say probably through all that recovered from sexual addiction too, because when you're doing drugs and alcohol, I became promiscuous. And so I've recovered from all of that, and I can honestly say that I am a Christian, and the first one that I got clean and sober of drugs and alcohol was a gift from God, where he completely delivered me overnight from drugs and alcohol. And I was a crack cocaine user, and down to 97 pounds, my eyes sunken in. I would eat one meal a day of a bowl of cereal for about 7 years. So I was very, very, very addicted and completely delivered. Everything thereafter, he had me work hard for. And the hardest one to recover from, believe it or not, was the eating disorder. I had to go to treatment 5 times for my eating disorder. And I've come to realize twofold why, in that order, how one was easier than the next. And it was the order in which the disease, because I call them all diseases. I think drugs and alcohol is a disease, I believe. Codependency is a disease. The smoking maybe is more habit. And then eating disorders are diseases. And in order that they came into my life was the realm of how hard it was. My eating disorder started at 5 years old when I did not know I had celiac disease. And every time I would eat bread and pasta, I kept getting sick. So I started chewing my food and spitting it into a napkin because no one heard me when I said my tummy hurt. And so it began at a very early age. And it was the hardest one to recover from. And plus, it's because it's the one that we have to eat. And so eating disorders, I think, are probably one of the deadliest diseases that is out there today that most people do not talk about. They think that it's a disease that you just will away. And people will say, well, just eat or quit eating. Either quit eating or eat. And they don't realize at all how difficult it is to heal. So anyway, so that's that. But I'd like
my niece has celiac, and it was so bizarre because it's like, and nobody heard about it back then. That means, so people that may not know, that's a allergy really to wheat or something like that. And so now a lot of people are gluten free or whatever, but that is what it was called back. The real disease of that is celiac.
Yeah, so, and that's what I have. I have celiac. Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because I was just talking to my chiropractor about this yesterday, and it's really sad in the environment that we live today with all of this clean eating and paleo and keto diets and all this. What a lot of the people don't know, and I'm just going to transition into this just for a moment here, is one of the deadliest eating disorders that panned out of all of this is called orthorexia. And orthorexia is when you almost become in an anorexic state because you're so obsessed with clean eating. And it gets to, because an eating disorder is your emotions and how it takes over the brain. And so a lot of people don't understand that orthorexia gets to a place where when you think so much that you have to eat everything clean and gluten-free and dairy-free and all this free, that it actually gets the person's mind so sick and disease that they become fearful to go to restaurants because it might not be clean enough. They become fearful not to go to family gatherings because the food might not be organic enough. So I really believe, truly, from all the research that I've learned, because I was part of the mouse studies at the Cure Celiac Disease, University of Chicago. I used to give my labs every 3 months to find a cure. And what I discovered from the doctors there is that it's not good to go gluten-free unless you have celiac disease because your body needs the protein that's in the gliadin. So where a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to go gluten-free and be healthier. Well, gluten-free products, the breads and the pastas, are 10 times more filled with sugar and really unnutritional, and so it's not good to go gluten-free. I mean, it just is not, in my opinion. That's my opinion. Unless you have celiac disease, because celiac disease leads to colon cancer and lymphoma. And so if you don't stay gluten-free, you can die of cancer. So
a lot of that is, I've never heard of that last one you talked about, but I have just this last week. I don't know if you have heard of Dr. Caroline Leaf. She wrote a book called, years ago. She wrote a book, and I met her, called "Who Switched Off My Brain," and she is a brain research extraordinaire. I mean, she has got so much research, and and she's a believer, and she talks about what she talked about recently. Mindset is everything. Mindset, she said, you can eat the most fantastic, beautiful kale salad, whatever it is, but if you have a poor mindset, or you are resenting it, or you're feeling left, that you didn't get fulfilled, you're not getting what you want, but you're, sacrificing to have this, your mindset will not, you will only get about 20% of the nutrients. Your body will not absorb it if you have a bad mindset. And this is me talking. I believe that if whatever you eat, you bless it, you just bless it, and then savor each bite, no matter what it is. If it's a piece of beautiful chocolate cake, and you just savor that it will benefit your body, the benefit of your mindset will change everything. So I believe so much of our it's fads going on. And let me say what diet is in my world. Diet, how you spell it, is DIE with a cross at the end. I mean, diets are not, because you're focusing on what's wrong. You're focusing what you don't want. I want to get fat, or I want to lose weight, and instead of focusing on thank you for the gratitude, thank you for the healthy, thank you for my health, thank you for blessing my nutrition and my health and my body, and gratitude is the key, by the way. Gratitude is the key to everything.
And what you're saying is exactly true, because when I was in treatment, they taught us that we don't call it a diet, we call it a meal plan or a food plan, and they taught us that all food is good, eaten in moderation. And so if you eat intuitively, mindfully, and have a plan, having a food plan. And so when I was in treatment, they actually taught us never to say this is a good food or a bad food. I should eat this or I shouldn't eat this. It's like, and they really taught you not to go into deprivation mode, because when you go into deprivation mode and say, I will never, ever, ever, ever eat a piece of cake again because it's bad for me. It's like, no, why don't you plan maybe once a month having a piece of cake, or once a week, or whatever, but you plan your meal, eat your plan, and nourish the body. And I'll share one last thing, and then we'll transition from food. But I have one funny thing is, if you guys can envision this was like an unbelievable thing that happened to me. So if you can think back in the biblical days, when the gluttonous days of the Romans sitting around and having the feast, and all the women, and the food and the sex, So you can see where I'm going for this. So one day in treatment, they taught us to get in touch with the taste, the texture, and the temperature of food. And so when you take a bite and you savor that bite, and you are chewing it, you'll say to yourself, what is the temperature? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it warm? And you connect with the food. This is mindful intuitiveness. And then what's the texture? Is it crunchy? Is it crisp? Is it soft? What's the texture? And then the last one, and you take another bite, what's the taste? Is it sweet? Is it sour? Is it bitter? So while I was in treatment, and I'm 66 years old, so this was...
Me too. We both are.
So this was like 5-6 years ago, about 5-6 years ago. I'm in treatment, and one of the therapists in treatment was a young man about 28, 29. And all of the, most people in treatment are between 18 to 30-ish, and so I'm with all these young girls. And he was extremely good looking, and all the girls were like in awe of him. So he and I had to do a therapy session at lunch where we had some pizza and grapes. And as we're sitting there and I'm taking a bite of it, he would say, Jill, what's the texture? And he had these big, gorgeous eyes. And I'm like not into these young guys, but he's saying this with this most sensuous voice. And as I was tasting it, I was connecting with the food. Well, about 40 minutes into this, and it took that long to get through 2 pieces of pizza and a bowl of grapes, because he would stop me and make me tell him what the texture was. Well, about 40 minutes into it, I said, I can't handle this anymore. He goes, well, why? And I said, I'm starting to have sexual feelings for you, and I don't know why. And he said, he laughed and he says, well, that's because your satiety, your taste buds are connected with your sensuality. And I didn't, he goes, and then he said, why do you think these Romans, when they'd eat food, they want to make love? And it was so funny. I had never heard that before. But the next time you have a meal, connect it and see what goes on. But it blew my mind away. I had never experienced anything like that because I eat really fast and I never connected food to intimacy at all. But it's a very intimate process, and I think it comes from, our bodies intimately need to be nourished. And it's just like this love connection with ourselves, and it has nothing to do with anything. But anyway, that's just kind of a funny story that happened to me, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Never connected food that way before. I'm getting embarrassed sharing that story, but it was weird.
We always know the flight attendant at a dinner party. She's the one standing behind the curtain, eating, and we always ate so fast, and you never knew if you're going to have another meal again, when we actually used to serve meals, really nice meals on the airplane, running by hand without carts back in the day. And I'll just, on the food subject, I really lost 50 pounds 2 or 3 times actually, but after my daughter was born, I've created this thing, and I would, we had ice cream sundaes on the airplane, and it was like, we just grab them and the leftovers, and it was great. And I just started saying no. I had a mindset of shift. I'm going to say no, just say no, and decide. And then maybe 20 minutes later, I'll be going, I think I do want some ice cream. And it was intentional. Mm-hmm. It was an intentional mindset.
The delayed gratification.
Yeah. And if I wanted it, then I would go, I would pour some coffee over it, make it a little mocha kind of thing. And it was, just a treat. But, back in the day when we really served food, but just saying no and then making an intention, thinking about it, because it's really easy just to graze.
Yeah. So transitioning from this connection, let us know, let the audience know, how have you personally connected during this pandemic with social distancing and just living by yourself?
First of all, I'm in Texas, and we have not been quite as restricted as other places. Getting my hair cut yesterday was, that was a good one. I was ready for that. But I'm a loner anyway. I live alone. I'm very happy being alone, and just connecting with Zoom and those kinds of things. I do. I'm very social when I'm out, and I'm okay. I don't watch TV. I don't turn on the news. I don't have any of that. I just have some Facebook friends and internet that I learn things
So
from.
it wasn't a horrific transition for you.
It has not been it's been very little of a my kids, my daughter's coming up tomorrow with her kids, and for the weekend, and they've done that 2 or 3 times, and my sister's husband died last, and we had the funeral and all that last week, and that was a challenge because there's still that
distancing. Yeah.
That was a little bit hard for her, and when he was in the hospital and she couldn't go see him and stuff like that. So those things were a little bit hard. But for me personally, I am the most flexible person in the world. I just roll with it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that bad for me.
Good. That's good. So,
and my saying about it, maybe I'll just add this, because my saying from the very beginning was, be prepared, not scared.
Yeah.
And because there's so much more going on than meets the eye, and I truly know that. And what this is something I wanted to transition into anyway. Every emotion is either the core, the basic is from love or fear. And if it's of love, God is love. He can't be not love. If it's of fear, it's not of God. And if you are walking in fear, what if you're walking in your bold faith? What if you're just walking in that things are going to always work out for me? What if you're walking in that who I am is unconditional love, and the harder people are to love, the more they need it. That's a part of my book too. Just who you are is love. And what if your purpose, everybody's, where's my purpose? I'm trying to find my purpose. What if your purpose, every soul's purpose, is to love the person in front of them? Period.
Well, I posted this on my Facebook page, and it was and you can, whoever wants to go on my page and look at it. It was Amy Grant, who's a Christian musician. And she posted a profound meditation that she's been doing. And she was talking about how when she'd go on tour, many times right before she got on stage, she'd have all this anxiety and all this stress, and she got doing Bible studies and trying to get delivered from it, and just sometimes just could not. So she just said all of a sudden it came to her to embrace whatever feeling she was having. So if she was feeling afraid, if she was feeling anxiety or stress, she just started saying, I am feeling fear. I am feeling anxiety. I am feeling blah, blah, blah. And she would say all these words. And then she'd lay on the ground, face down, and say, but I am love. But I am loved. But I am loved. And then she'd stand up and say, I am feeling angry. I am feeling alone. I am feeling disconnected. And then she'd lay on the ground and say, but I am loved. And she just kept doing it over and over. And she said sometimes it would take her 20, 30 minutes to do these until that peace that surpasses all understanding would fill her hearts with that divine love. And so it was just amazing. But I'd like to transition with you and ask you, in 2020 now is halfway over, what are the remainder of the year's goals and dreams for you?
Interesting question. I have I have a coaching, speaking, book writing mindset. I want to make a difference. I have wisdom of many, lots of silver hairs to prove lots of wisdom. And my goal, really, my hope, my intention is to start getting out a little bit more and actually acknowledging that you invited me to share some of that. And a friend of mine kind of reprimanded me the other day because I don't monetize things until recently. She said, until recently, I haven't really monetized things. I ain't skinny, so I'm provided for, and I'm happy with the way things are. But perhaps, having a coaching business that literally changes lives, and I witnessed that. I had a friend one time call. She's also in my book, but she called one day and I hardly recognized her voice. She was just so depressed and so down and so off. It didn't sound good. And within 10 minutes, she had a shift of mindset. And this is probably 2 years ago, almost. It was a permanent shift. And so I feel like I have some ways of doing things that I can't even explain, but that I am able to get to the core of some issues. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say another thing. My second book I said is called Split Second Transformation, Change Your Words, Change Your Life, 31 Daily Practices. I believe that so often we think things are really, really hard. And so it was great. Amy Grant found a way to shift her mindset. But I had a split second transformation from bitterness to joy. And I mean, for many years, I just hated my husband, but I'm this flight attendant mom, pool party, all this stuff all the time. And I had this anger and bitterness and hatred because I couldn't be heard. I wanted, I finally, when I left, I was like, I just want to be heard. And I want to be heard what I'm saying, and I want to be heard for what I'm not saying. Mm-hmm. And great guy just didn't have the capacity for that for me. And but the split second transformation when I went from bitterness to joy, I had a weekend event at Landmark Education actually that shifted everything. And in that split second, I'm like, oh my gosh, who I am is perfect exactly where I am. I'm the bride of Christ. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to strive. I just get to be. I just get to be and receive that I am love. And so there was a story in that, but there is that story, but an example that you, all of you guys can actually remember easily as a split second. What if, so many people go around saying, I'm just so tired. I'm so tired. I'm tired. I'm so tired. And I noticed that actually many years ago that all the teenagers, they're always so tired, so tired. And I said, well, what if you shifted that one word to refreshed?
Mm-hmm. Or energized. I'm so energized.
Pumped, energized, refreshed, excited. It literally, physiologically shifts the mindset. And I want to shake people and say, watch your words.
Yeah.
Speak what you want. This job is killing me. No, don't say it, or I hate this, or, your words matter so much more than you can even imagine.
Yeah, thank you. So another transition is, if you could create your dream getaway experience, what would that getaway experience look like for you?
Be sitting on your beach right there.
Well, come with me. I'm ready to go.
Well, and so this is, God is divine. I mean, these connections are amazing. I posted a little snippet. I'm looking for a blog platform, whatever. And you came back and said, I've got this. And this is something we want to share too. Sometimes there's a really great platform that we've just discovered that helps with your own, online presence with blogs and all of the above, websites and stuff. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about it. And then you introduced me to
Nightingale.
And now she and I are like best friends. And, I have a health product, it's Zeal Wellness. And she's like, she saw it on there. She's like, whoa, my husband, it helped him so much. And so but this was only Sunday, I think we connected.
Yeah.
I mean, this is 3 or 4 days ago, and have become, like sisters. And I feel like we've got a connection. And your business, Braveheart Workshops, is amazing. And I can't wait to be more engaged with that. And I know the Aruba trip you've got going on in
Montana. We got Montana. And so
Montana in the summer, yeah, I'll do that.
And we've got Chi for Two for couples to learn what the dance is in their relationships and harshness in relationships to connect.
I think it's brilliant that we're not just going on a vacation. We're just and I'm perfect. Sitting on the beach reading a book is, top of my list. However, having an experience and learning, and perhaps I'll even do one, because perhaps we get people that are paying it forward. By the way, you can go to @CandyBarHugs on Facebook, and I've started a little group about paying it forward and what that can look like. And Candy Bar Hugs group.
Yep.
Maybe all the readers that are people that are in that mindset of this pay it forward mindset. We can get together and have an experience that I can share my wisdom, and we can have a.
Yeah, I could see that too, where that would be fun to do, of those people who have read the book and or want to buy the book, is to do a getaway experience with a pay it forward. That one would be cool, would be who could afford to take two, pay your own, and bring someone with who can't afford it as a pay it forward. Wouldn't that be a cool getaway experience? Like someone who's always wanted to go somewhere beautiful but can't afford, and someone who has the money to pay their own way and bring someone with. What an amazing time. And then at that event, share story about how that manifested. I can envision that. I'm getting goosebumps because that just came to me. So,
Sounds awesome. I got goosebumps too. That's a double whammy there. We got it.
Well, my spiritual gifts are wisdom, knowledge, and discernment. And sometimes when the goosebumps come, I'm like, that was the divine Holy Spirit anointing of let's do something like this. So, my last two questions to you are: if somebody told you, and I know you're not into TV, but if you have your cell phone or your computer, if someone told you had to get rid of all your apps, but you can only keep two, what are your two must-have apps?
I guess text messaging is probably the one that I use pretty much all the time. Or Messenger on Facebook right now. But
and what's your second one?
Is email one?
Yeah.
Is email?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
I'm guessing I don't. I've just come up with. I've got 7 pages of apps in my phone now, so I don't know.
Those are you too.
I don't use many of them, but yeah, that's probably it right now.
And what's one fun fact about Charla?
Oh,
only one. You only get one.
Well, I didn't realize that it was in my bio that I carried the Olympic torch for Delta Airlines, and that was remarkable. It was in Vail, Colorado.
Cool. That is a fun fact. That's an amazing story.
Is that enough of a fun fact for me, or
that is?
I have 3 kids and 3 step-kids, and oh my gosh, there's no limit of my funness.
Well,
I have 3 sisters, and we're always laughing, so that's a fun fact.
Well, I'm going to put on the screen now Charla's bio so that you can see how to reach her. It's got her website. It's got a picture of her with her book, The Candy Bars. And so please reach out to Charla and go to Amazon and get that book because it sounds amazing, and then have some wisdom to know how to pay it forward in your life with others. And so what I'd like to do at this point is transition at the end of the show to just let the audience know that the Connection Show is always looking for amazing leaders like Charla that want to share their story and connect with you as an audience. So if you'd like to be on the show, please reach out to me at my website, braveheartworkshops.com. Go to the contact page and fill that out with your information, and I'll reach back out to you for a time to be on the show. And for the audience, I don't want you to ever feel left out, so I want you to know that we have decided in the last few weeks to begin the Connection Show Gathering Tribe. It's an opportunity for you to join in with leaders such as Charla and meet up with us on Monday evenings for Zoom connection groups. We meet up at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 o'clock Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, and 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Charla was on our last meetup, and we started by just asking each other what we all do, and after about 10 minutes, we said, that's enough. Like, okay, we all know what each other's does. Let's have fun. And so we spent the rest of the evening, we only meet for an hour, doing some impromptu improv, and just had some amazing belly laughs. It was so much fun to connect and have fun with each other. So each week, it's spontaneous. There's no set ways. If you're going to say, well, what do I expect? I don't know. Just show up and we'll have fun. We'll create ideas. And the main thing about it is just to connect with each other and enjoy life. So
and have fun with the girls.
Have fun. And it's guys too. Guys can come too. So it's not just women. My husband usually comes. He didn't come this last week. He was busy doing something else. So men, women, we're here to connect. We want you to know we love you and we care about you during this time. And so I just want to sign off by saying thanks so much, Charla, for being on the show. And any last thoughts?
Yes, please. If you email me at charlaanderson.com, CHARLA, charlaanderson.com, and I will ask, and in the subject line put Jill name, or the Braveheart probably would be good. And ask. I will send you. I have a whole sheet of affirmations that I created many years ago, and they are so fun. And they're really healthy, wealthy, wise, fabulous, and fun is one of them. So I would love to share that with your audience too.
That's amazing. I'll put that too on the watch party, so people will have that. And thank you for saying that, because now that social distancing is becoming less and less, and we're opening up different cities now, and travel's beginning. I live in Branson, Missouri. Shows are starting. I'm so excited because we're a tourism city. And so now that things are starting to change, and we do have 3 workshops, retreats on the books, please go to the website to look at them. And what I'd like to offer our guest today is, if you wanted to go on and look at that and register, we only require a small deposit and sign up. If you put in the promo code the word connection, I'll know that you heard about it on the Connection Show. And for anyone that wants to register after hearing this, I will give you $100 off of your registration for any retreat that you want to register for. So hopefully we can enjoy a getaway experience together. Thanks so much for joining us, Charla. I really appreciate it.
It's been awesome. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye now.
Let's connect now. We can dream together to renew, restore, and reconnect with wellness in our life. Go to braveheartworkshops.com. Join me for weekly Zoom connections on Facebook at facebook.com Braveheart Workshops. Thanks so much for joining the show, and we look forward to seeing you on Monday nights.